I want to ask you about health and wellness. I know that you're very involved in, research about nutrition and aging and these things, and I've read about your personal daily regimen. But in Silicon Valley and startup land, it's kind of heroic to not sleep and to eat crap and work all hours of the day. I mean, what do you think? How do you advise startup founders to live their lives?
Well, I think if you are 20-something, wear your seatbelt, maybe avoid the most extreme of sports, but you probably will be in good shape. Really, 15 years from now, when we reach a mature phase of the biotechnology revolution, I've written 3 health books, and they're really a wake-up call for my baby boomer peers. So I'm 64. I do come out younger on biological aging tests. I've overcome challenges. I was diagnosed 30 years ago with type 2 diabetes, but I've had no indication of that for 25 years. I would have developed heart disease, which my father died of, and I have a genetic disposition to, but I don't have it, and I have perfect numbers. And because I'm diligent about these issues, and so I actually expect to be in good shape. It's not guaranteed for any of us. And we talk about a bridge to a bridge to a bridge. Bridge 1 is what you can do right now. And these future bridges are coming, biotechnology and nanotechnology. For young people, I actually think not sleeping is counterproductive in the short term. In fact, sleep is actually a very creative time. I assign myself a problem before I go to sleep every night, and then I find myself dreaming about it, and then I revisit that in the morning when I'm halfway between conscious and being still in the dream, and kind of do a lucid dreaming where I access the dream ideas, but I can begin to make sense of them. And that technique, I actually come up with whole new inventions and ideas or insights into different problems and challenges. It's a very creative time. You're not really, getting anywhere by staying up all night.
Yeah. I'm sure that's here at South by Southwest and nobody's sleeping, but maybe.
But if you're having a good party, that's different. Then it's worth staying up.
Right. Yeah, and everyone's kind of talking and interacting, so that's good. Great. Well, I wanted to ask you, has there been anything just in the past week or two that's kind of come across your desk or come across your purview that you're obsessed with right now, or that you're interesting, or an idea?
There have actually been some. I'm writing this book on the mind and how the brain works, and there's been some new research that's just come out in the last couple of weeks, and this is what I'm obsessed with since I'm actually writing a book about it, that supports this thesis that there is a module in your neocortex, that's where you do your thinking, by the way, that's repeated 300 million times, and it recognizes a pattern, and it can remember that pattern, and it's organized in hierarchies, and it's self-organizing depending on what hierarchies of information you've encountered. So we actually create our own neocortex. All those connections between these different modules you create with your own thoughts and what you choose to think about. So you not only does your brain create your thoughts, but your thoughts create your brain, and you are what you eat, but you also are what you think. And there's actually been some exciting research just in the last couple of weeks that supports this thesis, which I'm describing.
So how can people maybe leverage that, or how are you thinking that maybe people can now knowing that and that's how it works? What can people do?
Well, from a very young age, realize that the person you will become is based on what you choose to do and think about, which is deeply influenced by the people that you associate with. So pick your parents carefully. That's a first step. But then also pick your friends and pick your interests, find something you're passionate about. Brains do have an aptitude. Mozart's brain or John Lennon's brain was particularly good for music, and find out what that is. Sometimes it's very apparent. For me, it was clear I was going to be an inventor from a young age. My father was a brilliant musician from a very young age. Sometimes people take longer, that's okay, but find out what you have a passion for, because it takes passion to create knowledge that has value.
So there's no such thing as sort of wasted time or downtime or something that you do that should be disposable. It sounds like everything kind of comes together and matters.
Everything you do matters. That's creating who you are. And creative work is definitely not something you sit down and can just do. You have to have the right inspiration, but then you need to break that inspiration down into what needs to be accomplished, and then it breaks down into 50 sub-problems, and you work on each of those. And different people find different ways to approach creative work. But we really don't approach this in the right way in our educational system. We're still following a 19th century model of stuffing facts into kids' minds. We don't need to do that. We've outsourced the facts to the cloud. Our personal, social, historical memories have been outsourced, and it's much better off in the cloud than in our brains. What we need to train our brains to do is actually how to solve problems and create new knowledge. That new knowledge might be music or dance or science or engineering. But that's actually what the future is all about. Already, most employment has to do with creating knowledge, like you're doing now in creating television.
And do you still think, I have two more questions, but do you still think that like America is the best place to be doing this? I mean, you've stayed here, and you've stayed in sort of the Bay Area, and that's still the hotbed, but it's a global situation now. What do you think about geography?
Well, first of all, geography matters less and less because we have virtual communication that allows people to work anywhere. And my team that helps me is all over the country and the world, and these tools are getting more and more effective. The American model, which we invented, like venture capital, which was exclusively American up until not so long ago, has spread around the world, and the value of entrepreneurship. And some other societies are, in fact, much more active than we are in creating new scientists and engineers. But that doesn't actually bother me. That Chinese engineer who might come up with a better solar panel, that's good for us. We'll all benefit from that technology. That being said, America's still the leader in innovation and creativity. We have this frontier mentality, and that's been made a metaphorical frontier now in terms of new frontiers of knowledge and products, the kind of thing that Apple or Google do. And a lot of these technologies that are used around the world, I mean, Facebook is used around the world, and a lot of these companies are the leaders. American culture in terms of music and movies and television are deeply influential. We have a very creative population that respects the idea of new ideas.
And so my last question is, do you have any apps, or are you active at all on social media? There are a bunch of Twitter accounts that claim to be you, but none of them look legitimate to me.
My projects have social network accounts on Facebook and tweet, and personally I don't. It's hard enough for me to keep up with email, which is actually the mainstay of my communication. The apps I use are pretty conventional. I'm on Wikipedia a lot. I use search engines. I use actually several of them. Nothing all that exotic, but I'm amazed every day at how powerful they are. I hear something vague, some professor in Texas, and it's something with this ion channel. Just put that in and bang, in a few seconds you've got the information. And it was only a few years ago where you would then spend days searching for this information. That's immensely powerful.